Our Google Ad Concept Generator workflow is one example of a few simple strategies that we use to optimize the utilization of an LLM agent's context window. So we'll look at what we're trying to achieve with this app, and then we'll look at how we optimize context here. What we're trying to do is have a one size fits all app that can adapt to any given brand and understand the brand by using its website pages and writing samples and writing guidelines. And then apply those brand specific content writing principles to strategize and then create assets for any given type of Google ad, which is across Google ad formats and across Google ad campaign types. So it's a very complex task, and every one of the elements I just mentioned comes with its own context. There's Google guidelines for ad formats and ad campaigns and all the specifications involved. So that's a lot of bulky context right there. Plus, there's all the brand assets, which is website pages that need to be scraped, and then sample documents, which are PDFs or Word documents that need to be ingested and understood. So, if you were to dump all of this context into the context window of a single LLM, chances are that just that material might exceed the context limit, and you're basically unable to use a single inference call for all of this information. If it doesn't exceed the context window, you're still very likely to be hobbling your LLM with a lot of potentially redundant or irrelevant information that will dilute its ability to pay attention to the details that actually matter or adhere to your instructions in any kind of meaningful way. So it's indispensable in a use case like this to split up your context and pre-process it in some way so that by the time it reaches an LLM performing the crucial task of either strategizing or creating ad assets for you, you've given the LLM enough space to do its own thinking and reasoning and tool calls and so on. So how do we do this? Well, we begin with a separate workflow called the Brand IQ Builder. I won't go into that in detail here, but this Brand IQ Builder outputs a structured object which contains simple parameters like the brand name and industry name, but it also has three other structured objects within it corresponding to the three types of assets that we typically get from a brand. So, website pages, writing samples, and brief guidelines. Now, each of these objects contains a block for a specific content type. And we've got numerous such blocks. So we've got a block for blogs, another for podcasts, another for videos, and you can probably see where I'm going with this, but we have a block in there for Google Ads. So what we're doing is we have another agent that's going through all of these assets shared by the brand. It's using sub-agents dedicated to website analysis, sample review, and brief ingestion. And with the help of those sub-agents, it's really extracting the key content principles that we need to know about for individual asset types. Now, in this workflow, we're getting hold of that structured object that this agent outputs, and we are diving into the website analyst's output specifically within that structured object. And inside that, we're looking for the Google Ads object that's going to tell us specifically what strategies are going to matter here. Similarly, we're looking at the sample review and brief ingester output pertaining to only Google Ads, and that is the only part of the context that gets piped in here. So if we had received maybe 10,000 tokens worth of website pages or 15,000 tokens worth of sample content, we've distilled that down with LLM steps and then selective utilization. We've distilled that down to maybe about 1,000 or 1,500 tokens only of very, very high value and high impact information, which then get piped into the context here. So that significantly reduces the context bloat for this sub-agent right here. There's a complementary and similar approach happening for the Google ad formats and Google ad campaigns. Now, here it's not documents provided to us by a brand at runtime. These are published guidelines from Google. So we have the opportunity to prepare our own structured objects and skills for these campaign types and format types. So that's what we do. Now, here you will see a bunch of parameters in the ad strategizer step. These are the inputs that this subagent requires to operate. Many of these inputs come from other steps within the workflow, or they come from other Pepper workflows on our platform, but some of them come from the user at runtime. So you'll notice ad format and ad campaign type are among the inputs here. These come from the user at runtime. And that means we don't actually need to care about the skills for any campaign type other than the one provided by the client. So when the client selects the specific ad campaign type they want, let's say it's Performance Max, we then programmatically extract only the instructions, templates, assets, and best practices required for Performance Max ads, and we pipe those into context. And we leave out everything to do with, say, demand gen or display ads or search ads. The same thing happens for ad formats. The user selects which format they want, and we pipe in only that information. So at the end of this process, what you have in the ad strategizer's context window is highly filtered, highly distilled information that gives the ad strategizer agent only what it needs to know in order to do its part of the job properly. Now, this subagent outputs a structured object containing three or four highly optimized strategies for the ad campaign. Those strategies are then passed to an ad creator subagent. Now, because it's a structured object, the creator subagent knows precisely what to expect, and it is able to then select and extract just one of those strategies and go ahead and implement it and create individual assets. Now, many of the inputs from the brand IQ builder are not actually used in the ad creation stage. That's another way of context optimizing by specializing agents. Since those inputs were already considered while building the strategy, we do not require them while building the individual ad assets. So this creator works with an even leaner context than the ad strategizer, therefore making it meaner at adhering to the asset creation requirements that are the most important to us. So those are a few of the principles that we use for context optimization for complex tasks.